Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Sweet Combat Season 1, Episode 30. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So we're immediately picking up where the last episode left off, and sadly things do play out the way I pretty much thought they would. Just by the way everyone's staring at Queen while her and Yanan were walking at the end of last episode, I figured. Like, a lot of people are disappointed in Queen. Like, once again, we don't really know Queen's relationship with a lot of the student body at the school, even in the webtoon, like her relationship with a lot of the wild students. Like, she's on decent enough terms with them. People look up to her because she's Queen and stuff, but like, she's kind of a role model, and her kind of having that cold personality, because that's the point I was kind of making. Like, the way Queen was responding to everyone, including Zhao Mi, was very much kind of like how Queen was at the beginning of the series, and what we've come to know. Because the only person who ever really saw Queen's softer side before Tien and Hao saw it was Yanan. She's the only one that really got to know Queen. So to everyone else, she's like, oh, the cold, prickly person. But everyone, you know, Tien and Hao, but mainly Tien, got to see like a different side of her, kind of recognized there's more to her. So she kind of reverts back to that Queen, because everyone's chastising her, like, how could you do this? We looked up to you, because it's like, you're our role model, or you're the one that kind of pushed us to go forward, and for you to abandon all of us. And Queen doesn't want to explain herself, even to the point Zhao Mi chastised her too. Like, right, it's saying like, right, were you just that afraid of fighting Wuji that you were so afraid of like losing your title, so you just figured you'd run away? And it's like, it's not even that. It's everything she's going through. And Yanan, at the time, we don't know that Yanan knows everything. We just think like Yanan's like, right, Queen had her reasons, back off. But like, no one would leave her alone. It was mainly Zhao Mi kind of like disappointed her in the most, you know? And so ultimately, Yanan ends up talking to Tien, who defends Queen as well, saying like, right, because it's like, Zhao Mi tries to say like, well, Tien's her trainer, like he coached her and Zhao Mi and Yanan, so it's like, he deserves to know why she did it. But Tien doesn't push it, because it's like, I know whatever reason she did it, she had her own reasons, and we should leave her at that. And even trying to tell Yanan like, right, I'm not going to try and put you in a difficult position. I know you're already kind of in the middle of this. I don't want to put you in an awkward position where you have to, I'm not going to pressure you for answers about your bestie. Like, she will tell and talk about it when she's ready. But that's when she tells Tien he won't have much time, because she's leaving the school. And the principal is not like, because the principal's trying to handle this greatly too. He's like, not the principal, the president of the school, being like, no, you don't even owe us an explanation for the finals. I won't even push that, but I want to know, if you are transferring, is this because of your grandfather? And she's like, no, this is my own personal reason. And he's like, and you're not going to give me a reason? And she's like, no, they're just personal. And so when Tien shows up and is like, no, let me talk to Fong Yu, he's like, good, talk, have a good talk. It's very much, I wonder, it's so interesting because it gets repeated, because that must just be, maybe that's like a Chinese thing, because last episode when, not last episode, the episode, was that last? Yeah, no, I think that was last episode. When Yanan's dad was, it was last episode when Yanan's dad was trying to tell Yanan and Guanyan to have like have a good talk. He said it twice too, but no matter what Tien's saying to her, she won't open up. She just says like, right, like, I'm leaving. He's like, right, am I the reason you're leaving? And she's like, yes. So he's like, fine, I'll leave the school. You don't have to transfer. You'll stay. I'll leave if it means you'll stay. But for her, it's like, right, like, don't do that. Like, you're taking care of your siblings. Like, what about them? Don't be so like rash with your decision, because at the end of the day, she's like, the reason why, you really want to know why, because Tien won't believe her excuses. He's like, right, like, I know there's something you're hiding from me, so tell me the truth. She's like, fine, all honesty is as simple as, I just can't be with you. I will never be able to forgive your father, and let's leave it at that. And her reasoning, like, secretly, is what I thought. I figured as much. She's trying to protect Tien, regardless of the issues she personally has with it, which there are issues of her now believing what she believes to be the truth about Tien's father. There's also the element of, she wants to protect him, because it's like, and it's the exact thing I talked about previously, because Tien opened up about how, like, after, like, everything with his father, how his family fell apart, and also how once again he came to resent his mom and his dad, and also, like, he turned within himself, and, like, all of that was the fallout, and it made Tien who he was for so many years. But coming to this school, meeting all of them, meeting Queen in particular, he was able to grow and become a better person. So when she's talking to Yanan, because Yanan's like, why don't you just tell him? And she's like, I want to protect him. He already spent so long despising his dad. If I tell him the entire truth about what his dad was up to, it's hard for me to even process it. But if I tell Tien, what is he going to do? He's going to backpedal. It's going to break him again. And if at least I can protect him and who he's become, then I will carry that weight. I will carry the, like, hurt of me holding on to this. But I think that's beautiful that at least she has one person she talked to about it. It makes a lot of sense. Like, of course, the one person you're going to confide in would be your bestie. It took her a while, but I guess, like, when she finally broke down, she told her everything off screen. But, like, you know, Yanan can't push it too far because she understands where Queen's coming from. And it's like, yeah, your decision makes a lot of sense. You're trying to protect Tien from a lot of hurt. I mean, it's kind of like the inverse of what her grandfather's trying to do. Once again, a little hurt now to prevent you from having hurt in the long run. At least she's coming from a selfless place, which you want to hope that her grandfather's coming from some selfless place, even despite how contorted it might be. You'd hope there's some selflessness in it, but it just seems evil and, like, selfish. So, but obviously it's like the most heartbreaking thing for Yanan is, like, I'm losing my bestie. Like, you know, nothing we'd ever do, future festivals, future tournaments, nothing at the school, even graduation will feel the same without you playing your part in it. And them kind of saying goodbye. It's like, when's the next time I'm going to be able to see this view again, is what, you know, Queen says. And it's just like them hugging and, like, crying, like tears welling up in their eyes. Ultimately, just like I figured, Shiwei, like I said, I was like, yeah, I knew he had to come back into the picture, because now that Tien and Yu are over, of course he'd swoop in, because he says, like, oh, like, her grandfather would jump on this opportunity. Of course he would. That's also the thing of, like, I don't know whether you are just so blind to how much of a piece of shit Shiwei is. I don't know if you're just so blind to that. You're breaking her off, like, with someone she legitimately cared about, and you're going to force her to marry someone that, like, is against I mean, because it also plays in, like, her grandfather didn't want her to be that fighter type of person, so she's given up MMA, and now it's like, oh, like, she's kind of like the person Shiwei wants her to be, or who her grandfather wants her to be. Which, I mean, to be fair, Shiwei doesn't care one way or another. If he can mold you into being who he wants her to be, sure, that's fine and dandy, but it's just a means to an end to him. It's like, and the fact is that her grandfather can't see that. It's just so shitty. Like, you are dooming your granddaughter, and you just don't seem to care enough to recognize you're on some bullshit right now. And that's the saddest, most frustrating thing. But he's here trying to, like, woo her along. It's like, once again, even if it wasn't for all of this, even if it wasn't for Tien, like, she wouldn't be with you, dude. She knows who you really are. Like, she's not confused about it. She was kind of denying him until Tien shows up. Once again, the element of, hey, hurt now, less pain later. She wanted to break. She did that on purpose, got in the car just so that Tien would be upset, because she knows her getting in the car with Shiwei. He literally told her a couple episodes back, yeah, it made me jealous. It bothered me. So now she's doing it again because she wants to, like, make that break even more. So, like, she wants to give Tien less and less of an excuse to, like, think about her or care about her. And so the moment it's like, oh, let's go. Where do you want to go? French, Japanese? But she immediately gets out the car and walks away. It's like, douchebag, I wasn't really going to go with you. I just wanted to stay long enough so that Tien would leave and not look back. And then he's like, what? You have to come with me, your grandfather. And she's like, I will put you in the hospital. Leave me alone. So, given the opportunity, he's going to be the douchebag that he is, and he wants to try and rub salt in the wound. Her and Tien and her aren't even together anymore, but because you recognize she still does have feelings for him, you felt like going after Tien and starting some shit, you know? Just to be the prick that you are. So, he goes there to chastise him. Like, hey, not only do I want you to clean my car, you have to do it. It's also the element of I'm rubbing salt in the wound, being like, yeah, she only dated you because she wanted to, see what it's like to experiment by dating a poor person, and then rubbing salt in the wound, saying like, right, when I marry Fong Yu, you can, I'll hire you on to serve her, and even talking about like, right, like basically fixing a lot of the issues he has with her, of like her being this fighter, this person, having too strong of a personality. It's like I'll kind of break that element of her, just being an utter prick, especially at a time where it's like, despite everything, Tien hasn't given up on his feelings for her. They're not just going to disappear overnight, despite you hoping, not hoping, but at least thinking like maybe with enough time that'll fade away. Once again, he'll move on and be fine eventually, despite the hurt that she's going to be in doing all of this. So, especially too because he was washing cars and all he could do was think about you. Even his boss came back and was like, yo, take a break. You've been working since this morning. He's like, you might not be tired, but you're making me dizzy looking at you working nonstop. And it's just because Tien wants to dive into work so he doesn't have to focus on the you situation. But it still rears its head in this regard. But he makes a declaration to Shiwei. It's like, she will never like you, and I basically won't let you kind of, like, regardless of, even if she's not with me, because I know there's more to this that she's just not telling me, and I can't push any further because she won't tell me the truth, and even if I buy what she said, it's like I won't let her go that easily. But it's also that I won't let her be with you. I made that clear beforehand. I would never, like, you do not deserve you. She deserves so much better than you, because I've known for a while how much of a piece of shit you are. So, but then we find out that the car wash boss was recording everything, responding to his boss, who we find out is Zhao, which I was like, oh, that's super dope. Because if I do remember correctly, I do believe he buys not only Tien's apartment, but I believe he also buys the car wash too, if I remember correctly. I'm fairly certain. So I think that, like I said, I think that's something straight out of the webtoon. But yeah, like Zhao was like, oh, I'm ready for this, because I knew that slimy bastard would come to chastise Tien, so he had cameras installed. He's like, cool, send me that clip. And so later on, he texts that to Fong Yu. Fong Yu, like, you already hates the dude, and now it's like, oh, here you are chastising and threatening Tien, like, oh, I hate you already. The thing is, you can use this to her advantage, because all they have to do is spread that clip like wildfire, and it will tarnish his family name. Like, oh, this guy's so gross. It will cause problems for his family in the long run. So she could use that as a leverage against her grandfather to get him to bail out of this. But even if it's not, she could publicly shame him enough to put that out there. I mean, even if she doesn't do it, Zhao could. So we'll see. But it's also the thing of knowing, like, right, she thought if she cut ties with Tien, she'd save him a lot of hurt in the long run. But even when she cuts ties with him, someone like Shiwei has to come and steer that up. So she's going to nip that in the bud. And it's like, if I'm able to nip this in the bud, he'll never bother Tien. It's the last, I'm sure for her, she'll internalize it as, this is the last good thing I can do for Tien. So at the same time, all of this is going down, Zhao Mi and Hao are going around, shopping for food. And she's making it like, oh, yeah, this is going to be like, I'm getting stuff that my grandparents would like, which I think is so interesting, because we never actually meet her grandparents in the webtoon. I also think it's so interesting too. They set up and they imply like, right, her mom has a cooking show and stuff, but we never actually get to meet her mom in the show. Like I said, her mom in the webtoon is a recurring character. You do actually meet her father a little bit too, and where she learns a lot of her martial arts stems from her father. So it's just interesting, like that parental element is completely removed. Like the fact is, they made Yanan, or in the webtoon Moon Young, her father more of a character. Like I said, he has small bits in the webtoon, but they made him a more prominent character, or at least a more recurring character, and gave him even more of a story arc with everything with him and Hao's mom, which we'll circle to that in a little bit. But so yeah, but I love how when he was in the market with with Zhao Mi, he's imagining her feeding him all these peanuts. He's like, "Oh, you're so pesky," and so he buys a whole bunch of them. And he's like, "Yeah, I like them. So like, yeah, mind your own business." She's like, "Why are you copying me?" So they go over and cook for Tian's siblings. I think it's probably the first time Zhao Mi's come over to cook for them in a very, very long time since her and Tien kind of went their separate ways. Like when he first told her, like, "Yo, like I like," that was like episode maybe 16 or 17. I think it might have been 17, where like he sadly broke her heart in that moment. Like I think that's the last time she's been over to their house. So it was kind of this really cute thing where like how ultimately ends up feeding her, because like obviously like her dominant hand seems to be her right hand, so she can't use her chopsticks with her left hand. And so the kids are like, "Wait, so are you guys dating?" What Zhao Mi's like, no, of course we're not dating. Because the sister was so concerned, because she's like, wait, now that Queen and Tien have broken up, like, who is my brother going to be with? I mean, he's so pitiful. But Hao's like, "Yo, your brother's great. Like, he's going to have so many ladies, like, swarming around him." The fact is, typically, Zhao Mi would have jumped at that opportunity, like, "Oh, me and your brother." Like, she didn't really jump at that opportunity, which I think speaks volumes. But you can tell Hao still feels awkward about it, because Zhao Mi's like, "Right, look at us. We don't make a good couple." Even Hao had told that to his mom of like, "Yeah, we're kind of like so polar opposites." But it's like, yeah, sometimes that is the best thing. You know, sometimes some fire and ice, or certain foods that mix together, because they'll give you diarrhea. Remember that whole like diarrhea detox conversation that they had. So he was kind of bummed about the whole situation. But I love that it's like, what are we going to do about Tien? It's like, if like, what if Hao and Zhao Mi are actually a couple? But the brother was like, "No, they said they're not dating, so it's a fine." So it's like, right, they're going back to the drawing board, specifically the book, and they're like, "Right, let's give Zhao Mi 2 stickers, like one for you and one for me." So we're putting her back in the running, even though they X'd her out afterwards, previously. So it's like, yeah, I got to put her back in the running for being with our bro. It's like, once again, I love that has been this recurring, like, this is like the third time that bits come up. I do think that's such a nice thing, because like I said, the entire webtoon, it always came down to Dao Dao and Queen. So it's just kind of interesting that it's still obviously that and stuff. But yeah. Because Queen was ahead regardless, but now I think maybe they're even. In fact, maybe even Zhao Mi might be in the lead. Because I forgot what it was, but something happened and Jaegu's brother like gave, because they're representing it by smiley faces. In the webtoon, I believe it's just like a point system, because I believe they gave like I said, I can't remember the circumstances, but I believe Queen got like minus 12 points for something. I just don't remember what the circumstances were, why they gave her minus 12. Like I said, in the show, they're making it more both siblings participate. But like I said, but I believe, I've said this previously, I believe in the webtoon, only the brother is the one that kind of keeps tabs. And because like I said, he tries to be Jaegu's like wingman multiple times throughout the show. So, I mean, throughout the webtoon, sorry. Either way, we've also got the circumstances with... Oh, right. I was about to move on to Yanan's dad, but in fact, there was actually one more bit I forgot about it at school. It was like the last thing Queen did is she gets confronted by Zhao Feng, who, much like everyone else, is disappointed because her main reason for entering the tournament was to go up against Queen, especially considering, as we know, because she told Guanyan this was going to be her last year. She's not participating next year because she's going to be taking something else, and I think school is probably going to be her main focus. So like this was going to be her. I don't think it's like a thing, because I think she's like she might be a second year like them. I actually don't remember what year she is at her school, but it's like I think she's still going to be in college, but I think she's going to take certain things, and it's like maybe like classes and tests and stuff, so she won't have enough time to also participate and train in a tournament. So this was going to be her one shot to take on Queen. So Queen's like, right, the last thing I'm gonna do, like, since you're so disappointed in me, we can fight and we can settle this. But Queen wasn't gonna give her an actual fight. It's like, right, take all your frustrations, beat it up, beat me up, and let out all your frustrations. You're strong. That's what you wanted, right? This is what you win. You get to beat me up and stuff like that. But Zhao Feng is so pissed because it's like you're not taking it seriously. Like it was always a sport to you, huh? Like the fact is you're this spoiled princess, and then finally Queen explodes on her and you see her get angry like you've never seen her angry before, because she's like, right, I have my circumstances. Don't just sit there and assume you know all there is to me. And the fact of the matter is everyone goes through something, and they experience and deal with it differently. So don't just sit there and assuming you know all there is about me. And ultimately she ends up laying Zhao Feng out and walks away from the ring. It's like yeah, and it's just like Zhao Feng wanted her match because like it meant a lot to her, and she just felt like, oh, because she never took Queen's, like, she made the whole point of like how Queen wasn't taking it seriously. She never took Queen seriously because she just assumed like, oh, this is just a passing phase for you. But it's like, no, this meant a lot to Queen. Like MMA, like fighting was a cornerstone of her comfort zone. She even says like, this was my one place where like I could have control of my life when so much other things were always dictated for me. The two things in her life that she got to decide on her own. She got to decide she likes Tien and wanted to be with him, and also enjoying MMA and fighting and training. Both things she cared about in the world. Both things that kind of kept her grounded. Like this, the two things in her life she got to decide on her own were taken away from her, because even this decision is not her own decision. She's leaving because she's trying to do it for someone else's sake to protect them, but also she's being coerced and manipulated into this decision to leave, So that's where things kind of are on that front. Then finally, this is kind of a two-part element, but we have the whole situation with Yanan's dad, who he got some movie tickets and he wants to spend them with Hao's mom, but he's like, no, what if she rejects me? I don't think I can handle that. So he wants to go over and talk to her. I forgot what he had finally come to a decision about, but she's there with family members, and he ends up checking because he was offering like to help one of her aunts, because it's like, oh, this is my aunt, these are my cousins. My aunt has like this numb foot. So, oh, like, acupuncture type of point stuff, so check out her foot. But then it ends up being her right foot, and it turns out she has the birthmarks as well. Turns out a lot of people in her family does. She's like, Hal's mom is like, yeah, 90% of the people in our family. Makes you almost wonder, does Hal have it as well? Because even that male cousin apparently had it too. So now it sends him spiraling a bit, because he's like, wait, so I guess the argument could be it's supposed to mean you are meant to be together and that this family will look after you, because that's what family's supposed to be about. Like, especially in Asian countries, like obviously family is a very core and important thing, because like what a family isn't just like individual people. It's a unit. Like it's a package deal, So it's like, yeah, you get with Hal's mom, you're getting all of that family as your support to look after you. So I think that's all supposed to be the deeper sign as well. But he's kind of upset because he's like, oh, I guess I believed in this superstition, and I was like, I shouldn't have. I just should have, it's like, right, I spent all this time spiraling about it. So for him, it simply comes down to, I should just be friends with her. That's all there is. He even asked Guanyan for advice on, like, how do you know what a woman wants? It's like, well, you either, like, observe or, you like find out the preferences. He's like, do you like someone? He's like, no, it's like not like that, because he was like, Guanyan was like, well, if it's someone like Yanan, you just ask her directly what like she likes and doesn't like. But he's like, yeah, but Yanan's not a girl. And Guanyan's like, what? He's like, no, but it's like, she's not a traditional woman, because it's like, Yanan's kind of her own case. You can't use her as a case study of what to do when it comes to generally most women, because Yanan's a very special case, which Guanyan loves that even more about him. So he came to see her, bring some snacks, and the dad, rather than keeping the tickets, tries to pawn them off, which even Yanan was like, wait, why do you have these tickets? Were you going to go with someone? He was like, no, what are you talking about? Why would I want to go with anyone? And sadly even says at the end, yeah, solitude is a better fit for me. It's like, oh, come on, dude. He's just too scared to put himself out there. And it's like, oh, I believed in this superstitious stuff and it's not real, you know. But the episode ends on kind of a very cute note where Guanyan and Yanan are going to like the movies. It's like, he's like, right, we won't have to go right now, but we can go at like a different time or whatever. He's like, yeah, but I only go to the movies with like my girlfriend. She's like, well, I don't fool around either. I only go to the movies with my boyfriend. He's like, deal. And they clap hands, and he grabs her hand and kind of holds it. And he's like, okay, so we're officially boyfriend and girlfriend now. And he's like, yeah, that's kind of, it's not too crazy for boyfriend and girlfriends to like hold hands. And Yana trying to be like, yeah, like, obviously it's like the more comfortable thing to do. I'm like, you too. And just making it so casually official just like that. It's like about time. It's like, it took a while, but we're finally here. So I was like, that's cute. It's probably also got to make Yanan feel a little weird because it's like, right, she's starting a relationship just as her best friend's relationship. And, it's not just her best friend. Like, Tien is also a friend, too. I'm curious, does she view Tien in the same way Moon Young viewed Jaegu? Because she even says, like, at one point, like, yeah, Jaegu's he's like a brother to me. So I wonder, does Zhao Mi look at him? I mean, does Yanan view him in that same boat, or is it just like, no, you're just a really good friend? Either way, I think I've talked about it before, but the person in the webtoon, Moon Young gets with a different character. Once again, Manon and Hye-shin are the ones that kind of get together. That's who Guanyan is more so fitting, but he also, because him and Yanan are getting together, it kind of makes Guanyan a little Manon, but also a little Gongrok. Gongrok is a young, I think he's a third-year middle schooler. Like, he's basically he's in 9th grade, because I'd assume, because basically, I think middle schools go from, 6th to 9th in, some Asian countries, and then, because high schools are, 10 to 12. They're only 3 years. So because she's a second year and she took an interest in the Gongrok at a pretty decent point in the story. I don't remember when that came up, but she was training him and stuff like that, and she thought he was so cute. This is where she transitioned from being not all about Jaegu, not in the same way Queen and Queen and Dao Dao were, but she did to some extent. But eventually it transferred over, and she was super into Gongrok the entire story. So she was kind of the strong one in the relationship in a lot of capacities. But she was helping him kind of beef up a little bit, but she loved how adorable he was, and she was trying to make him more manly, but she was okay with him being kind of very, weak, because it just felt good to kind of coddle him. It was almost I don't know, she didn't view it this way, but they were, Moon Young was just kind of weird about the whole Gongrok thing, but it's not a one-to-one with the whole, because Guanyan, likes her for being the strong person that she is, so it's I think there's also an element of Yanan liking how much of a strong person he is too. So it's you're the only person that can kind of keep up with me in that capacity. So it's like I said, I'm going too deep into it, but it's just I don't think I'd properly talked about the Gongrok of it all. Like I said, it's very, very different circumstances, a very different character archetype between. I mean, there's I think the only element that really connects Gongrok's character to Guanyan's character would be just the whole ending up with Yanan. That's the only thing that really connects those characters. Like I said, he's more Manon than anything, but still. It's going to be interesting to see where the next episode ultimately ends up taking us going forward with all of this. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Until the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.